Have you ever trusted someone so completely, only to have that trust shattered into a million pieces? This is the story of Matthew, a guy who thought he had it all figured out. He was deeply in love with Claire, his girlfriend of 5 years. They had built a life together, shared dreams, and made promises for the future. Matthew, Claire was his rock, his confidant, his everything. He couldn't imagine his life without her. But sometimes the people we trust the most are the ones who hide the deepest secrets. Matthew and Claire's relationship seemed perfect from the outside. They were that couple everyone admired. They finished each other's sentences, laughed at the same silly jokes, and supported each other's ambitions. Matthew, a software developer, was saving up to buy a house for them. Claire, a marketing manager, was always talking about their future wedding, the kids they would have, and the life they would build. Matthew poured everything he had into their relationship, his time, his money, and his heart. He never once doubted her loyalty. Why would he? They were Matthew and Claire, an unbreakable team. The first crack in their perfect world appeared subtly. Claire started working late more often. She became more protective of her phone, quickly flipping it over whenever Matthew walked into the room. When he asked who she was texting so much, she'd wave it off, saying it was just work or her friend Jessica. Matthew, trusting as ever, accepted her explanations. He wanted to believe her. He loved her, and love often makes us blind to the red flags waving right in our faces. He'd even surprise her at work with her favorite coffee, only to be told she was in a meeting he couldn't interrupt. He'd just leave the coffee at the reception and go, feeling a little deflated but still trusting. The truth, however, has a way of coming to light, often in the most brutal way possible. One evening, Matthew decided to surprise Claire by cooking a fancy dinner. He bought all her favorite ingredients, lit some candles, and set the table for a romantic night in. But Claire never came home. He called her friends, her parents. No one had heard from her. Finally, around 2 a.m., he got a text. "So sorry, phone died. Fell asleep at Jessica's place. See you in the morning." The relief he felt was quickly replaced by a gnawing suspicion. It just didn't feel right. The next day, Matthew's friend Mark called him. Mark's voice was hesitant. He said he had something to tell Matthew, something he had seen. The night before, Mark had been at a downtown bar and saw Claire. But she wasn't with Jessica. She was with another man, and they were not just talking. They were kissing, holding hands, and acting like a couple who had been together for years. The world stopped for Matthew. Every word from Mark felt like a physical blow. The air was sucked out of his lungs. The woman he was planning to propose to, the woman he trusted with his entire being, had betrayed him in the worst way possible. When Claire got home that evening, Matthew confronted her. At first, she denied everything, calling Mark a liar and accusing Matthew of being paranoid. But when Matthew described the man, the bar, even the clothes she was wearing, her facade crumbled. The truth came pouring out. The man was her coworker, Alex. It hadn't been a one-time thing. It had been going on for 6 months. She had been living a double life, and Matthew had been the fool who financed it. He just calmly asked her to pack her bags and leave his house. The days that followed were a blur of pain and anger. Matthew felt empty. The home they had built together felt like a hollow shell. Every corner held a memory, now tainted by her betrayal. But as the initial shock wore off, the anger began to solidify into a plan. He wasn't just going to let her walk away and live happily ever after with Alex. She had taken his love, his trust, and a significant amount of his money, as he soon discovered. Checking their shared accounts, he saw large, unexplained expenses at fancy restaurants and hotels he'd never been to. She had been using his hard-earned money to fund her affair. That was the final straw. He decided she needed to learn that actions have consequences. Matthew's revenge wasn't going to be petty. It was going to be strategic, calculated, and perfectly legal. He was a software developer, after all. His skills went beyond just coding. He was a problem solver. And Claire had just become his biggest problem to solve. He remembered Claire constantly bragging about a huge marketing campaign she was leading at her company. It was her big break, the project that was going to get her a major promotion and a huge bonus. She had even used Matthew's laptop to work on it occasionally, and that's where he found his opening. He knew her work passwords, not because he was snooping, but because she was often careless and would ask him to help with tech issues. He logged into her work cloud storage. He wasn't going to delete her work. That was too simple, too traceable. Instead, he made a few tiny, almost unnoticeable changes to the project files. He slightly altered the hex codes for the brand's primary colors, just enough to make them look off. He swapped a few key demographic statistics in her target audience report with slightly incorrect data. He changed the launch date on a few internal scheduling documents to be a day later than the actual launch. They were small, subtle acts of sabotage that would create chaos. The day of the campaign launch arrived. Matthew imagined Claire, confident and proud, presenting her masterpiece to her bosses. Then, the fallout began. The company's social media blew up with comments about the brand S colors looking weird and cheap. The targeted ads were being shown to the wrong audience, resulting in abysmal engagement and a huge waste of money. The internal team was in disarray because of the conflicting launch schedules. It was a complete and utter disaster. Claire's big break had turned into her biggest failure. The aftermath was swift. Claire's company launched an investigation. Because the changes were so subtle, they looked like careless mistakes, not sabotage. She was seen as incompetent and negligent. The promotion she was so sure of vanished. Instead, she was put on probation, her reputation in tatters. To make matters worse, the stress of the work disaster put a huge strain on her new relationship with Alex. He had been attracted to the successful, confident Claire, not the stressed-out, failing one. Their relationship quickly fell apart. Within a few weeks, Claire had lost her career prospects, her new man, and her reputation. She tried to reach out to Matthew, sending tearful apology texts. But Matthew never replied. He had already moved on. He had sold the house they once shared and moved to a new city for a better job. He had cut all ties to his old life and was focused on building a new one, this time for himself.